World history. What a boring subject. Well, that's what I used to think. When you get accepted into college, they have all these prereq and humanities courses you have to take before you get to the really interesting stuff. I've been taking a global studies class that pretty much puts everyone in attendance to sleep faster than any sleep aid ever could. The professor always says, "You never know when you might use this information." My whole intention is to become a nurse. Why would I ever need to know anything about what happened in some other country I've never even heard about? Though painful to admit, I did enjoy learning about different myths and legends the natives would tell, especially in Central and South America. I've always wanted to travel to those areas, but never had the chance. I was surprised during holiday break when my dad announced that we were going on a cruise, one that was sailing from Florida through the Caribbean and to South America. This was so awesome. Maybe we'd be able to hear some chilling stories about ancient ancestors or ghosts. My excitement couldn't be contained. We were going on the adventure of a lifetime. I packed my bags as quickly as possible. When everyone else was all set, we locked up the house and headed for the airport. The flight to Miami was faster than I expected. When we landed, we had a few hours before the cruise ship was departing, so we explored the city a little. While window shopping, I noticed a strange-looking woman through the crowd of people, staring at us from a distance. She wasn't a very attractive individual. Her hair was thin and partly draped over her face. She was hunched, and her features were rather pointed. "Dad, that weird lady's watching us," I whispered, pointing. My dad looked in that direction. "I don't see anything," he said. I took a second look, and the woman was gone. "Looks like it's time to get to the ship," Dad said. "What did I just see?" I muttered to myself. Little did I know, that experience wasn't the last for this adventure. We boarded the cruise ship hastily. We were eager to unload our stuff and get out and explore the ship. We were met by one of the members of the staff. He was a very good-looking guy named Carl. He showed us to our room, and we thanked him. As Dad closed the door, he chuckled. "That Carl guy is quite the looker," he said. "You were blushing all over him too, Sarah," he teased. "Shut up, Dad," I joked back. But there was something off about Carl too. His presence, though inviting, was almost too welcoming. I couldn't put my finger on the exact feeling I was experiencing, so I shook it from my head and raced out of the room to check out the ship. The cruise ship was massive, extremely easy to get lost in, but nothing too overwhelming. The staff members were very accommodating and helpful. I kept seeing Carl as well. It's almost as if it were fate. He smiled and waved. I waved back, and that's when the departure announcement sounded, and I went to find my parents. Our first stop was a twofer, as my dad put it. It's a twin island country. I can't remember for the life of me what the name was. Weird. The ship docked, and we were allowed to leave the ship to explore the island. Mom and Dad wanted to find some place to eat, so we searched for a restaurant nearby. We found a cute little cafe owned by an older couple. We walked in and sat in a booth in the far corner. A sweet older woman took our order and rushed off. We sat and talked about all the places we were going to visit. It was a very exciting time. So exciting, I almost missed the waitress practically keel over from what looked to be fear when Carl walked into the cafe. She started screaming at him in Spanish. I couldn't make out any of what she was yelling, except for one word. Brujo. Carl smiled at her with a giant grin and slowly turned towards us. Hey guys, he waved. Hi, Carl, Dad said in return. Do you know each other? A sinister smile crossed Carl's face as he slowly turned toward the distressed woman. Cállate la boca, he responded to the woman in a rather calm yet demanding voice. She immediately stopped whatever she was saying. Carl turned back towards us, still smiling. What was she saying? Dad asked. Oh, she's my aunt, Carl answered. She's upset with me because I don't come to visit often. Well, it seemed like whatever you said worked, Dad said lightheartedly. You should join us, Dad said. Carl grinned. No, I just stopped by to say hello to dear old auntie. As he said that, he glared at the fearful woman. His disposition changed yet again. I'll see you guys all back at the ship, he exclaimed with an overly enthusiastic smile. He turned and walked out of the cafe. What a weird dude, I whispered to my parents. They both just laughed. As we were leaving, I approached the woman who had been yelling at Carl. Are you okay? I asked hesitantly. Her eyes widened. Don't trust that man. He's not my nephew. You and your family are marked. He won't stop. That is a monster. I slowly backed away. Why is everyone on this trip so strange? I left the cafe with my parents, and we made our way back to the ship. That was probably our biggest mistake. The rest of the day was spent exploring the ship. We had dinner in one of the many extravagant restaurants the ship had to offer. They had a show during the night. Beautiful, round, glowing lights floated seamlessly in the sky. The passengers of the ship oohed and awed at the eerie sight. That's when I realized I hadn't seen Carl since the incident in the cafe. The lights started floating away from the ship and into the village. How do you think they're doing that? Dad asked. I don't know, I responded. Well, kid, I think we're going to turn in for the night, Dad said. You coming? I stared out toward the village. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, I agreed. We went to our room and fell asleep. I was shaken awake in the early morning. Sarah, wake up! My dad was standing over me. What's going on? I asked, still half asleep. Do you hear the screaming? Dad asked. The fear was visible in his eyes. I think it's coming from the village, he said. We have to get out of here. Where's Mom? I asked, concerned. My dad's eyes widened with fear. I don't know, he stammered. I could have sworn she was right here a minute ago. We burst out of the room into the empty hallway of the ship. All of the doors were wide open. What is this? I asked. My dad didn't answer. He just stood frozen, staring down the hall. It's so beautiful, he exclaimed. I've never seen anything so magnificent. I followed his gaze down the hall. There was nothing. I didn't see anything. What are you talking about? I demanded. I have to see it. I have to touch it. It's speaking to me, he said, almost in some kind of a trance, as he stepped forward. Dad, wait, I yelled. He didn't respond, as if he didn't even hear me. I tried to grab his arm, but he just kept walking, slowly, down the hall. I just stood there and watched him turn the corner. "This is so stupid," I said to myself. "He's probably just messing with me." I ran down the hall and turned the corner. But he wasn't there. He couldn't have gone anywhere. It was a dead end. Where did he go? A feeling of terror fell over me. I ran down the hall, looking into all of the rooms. "There has to be someone here," I said to myself. I heard a door slam from one of the other rooms. I quickly searched for the culprit. When I found the door, I slowly opened it to see if there was anyone there. "Hello?" I called out. "Is anyone in here?" I waited a bit, but there was nothing. As I turned around, I almost jumped out of my skin at the sight of Carl standing directly behind me, with that weird, creepy smile. "Are you lost?" he asked casually. "What are you smiling at?" I yelled at him. He chuckled to himself. "I think you figured out our little scheme," he responded. "Usually the people we trick on here never see it coming." I stared at him in horror. "What are you talking about?" I asked. Carl's grin widened. "We require blood in order to stay youthful," he stated. "When the locals of the island figured out that the pretty lights weren't all that friendly, well, we had to think more outside the box." I stepped back, trying to find a way out. "What are you going to do with us?" I stammered. Carl's gaze almost seemed to look past me. That's when I felt a hand wrap around each of my arms. When I looked down, all I saw was the glow of something emanating behind me. I felt a sharp pain and started to lose consciousness. That's when I heard someone behind me say,
"Thank you for your contribution."